For 6 holidays, I was alone. I raised every child my daughter-in-law abandoned. But on the very day she finally came crawling back, desperate for my help, I vanished. I just disappeared. And the whole town, even my own son, was convinced that I was dead. They had no idea what I was really doing. My name is Marian Aldridge. I am 62 years old. And for 34 of those years, I was a records manager for the Blue Ridge Water Authority. My job was simple. I kept track of infrastructure. I documented inflows, outflows, pressures, and potential points of failure. My retirement party was quiet, exactly as I requested. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, in the same house I've owned for 3 decades. It is a house built for a family, but for the last 6 holidays, I have been alone. My son, Graham, and his wife, Sloane, are busy. They are always busy. They are launching, or seeking funding, or networking. Their startup, which changes names every year, demands their full attention. This means that for the past 6 Thanksgivings, 6 Christmases, and countless weekends, their children, my grandchildren, do not demand their attention. Ruby is 11 now, old enough to understand disappointment. Evan is 8, and he still asks when they are coming back. Noah is 5. He just wants his own bed. I am the one who gets them from school when Sloane forgets pickup. I am the one who wakes up at 3 a.m. when Noah has a nightmare. They are good children. They are not abused, not in the way that leaves marks. They are just here, left behind, like dry cleaning, with the assumption I will be home to receive them. My meticulous life has been contaminated by their chaos. My mailbox, once just utility bills and seed catalogues, is now choked with their negligence. Parking tickets from downtown Asheville, issued to a car I co-signed for. Overdue notices for subscription boxes Sloane ordered in my name. Mom, it's just easier with your credit. Graham had said, we just need you to sign for us, to build the brand. I signed. But I am a records manager. I document everything. In the back of my storage closet, behind the archival boxes of my late husband's files, is a small, fireproof safe. Inside, there is no jewelry. There is only a ledger. It is a simple, spiral-bound notebook. On the cover, I wrote, Daughter-in-law departure log. In it, I document the inflows and outflows. April 10th, Sloane drop-off, 9 p.m. Stated, going for a 10-day detox. I remember that note, left on the counter, weighted down by a half-empty wine glass. 10 days turned into 3 months. No location, no contact. Graham. When I finally cornered him on the phone, sounded annoyed, like I was interrupting his flow. Mum, just handle it for a few weeks, okay? We're in a critical phase. A critical phase. Ruby missed the state spelling bee because I couldn't find her permission slip in the mess they call their apartment. Evan got an ear infection, and I had to argue with the insurance company for an hour because my name wasn't on the primary authorization. The favors escalated. Last month, I went to move my pension dividend into my savings. The account, a joint fund I had added Graham to, just in case of emergency, was nearly empty. Not a withdrawal at a counter. It was an electronic authorization, vague and buried in the terms of service of an online payment portal I had never used. They had siphoned it, legally. Using an agreement I vaguely recall signing on an iPad while trying to buckle Noah into his car seat. That was last month. This morning. The pressure changed. The doorbell rang at precisely 7:12 a.m. It wasn't a friendly ring. It was a thumb held down on the button. A demand. I didn't even have time to unlock the deadbolt before Graham pushed the door open. He still has a key. He looked terrible. His eyes were shot with red, and he smelled like stale coffee and some perfume that wasn't Sloane's. He wasn't here for the kids. They were still asleep upstairs. He didn't say hello. He walked straight past me to the kitchen island where I was measuring out coffee grounds. He dropped a thick manila envelope onto the granite. It landed with a heavy, official sound. "Mum," he said, his voice flat. "I don't have time to explain. I just need you to sign." I waited until the sound of his car's engine faded completely down the street. The house was quiet again, save for the hum of the refrigerator. I was still standing at the kitchen island, the coffee scoop still in my hand. Finally. I put it down and pulled the metal tab to open the envelope. It wasn't a single document. It was a stack. The top page was a loan application for a second mortgage on my house. This house. The one I had paid off 9 years ago. The one my late husband and I had bought when Graham was just a boy. The second page was a business guarantee agreement. It listed Sloane's current startup, Opulent Futures LLC, as the beneficiary. And it listed me, Marian Aldridge, as the sole guarantor. The amount was $280,000. My breath did not catch. I did not feel faint. I am a records manager. I simply began to process the data. I checked the routing numbers at the top, the lender's address, and the file code. And then I looked at the notary seal on the last page, conveniently pre-stamped, dated just 2 days prior. I recognized the notary's commission number. I had worked at the Water Authority for 34 years. We interfaced with the county clerk's office weekly. This number belonged to a young man who had been formally disciplined twice for administrative shortcuts, a polite term for backdating and witnessing documents he hadn't seen. His shift, I knew from memory of the county roster, did not align with the timestamp on the document. I put the stack down, picked up my phone, and dialed Delia. We've been friends since our first jobs. I managed records. She sued people who broke them. 7:18 a.m. Marian, she answered, her voice already sharp. This isn't a social call. No, it isn't, I said. I explained the envelope, the amount, and the notary number. Delia was silent for a beat. Marian, she said, her voice dropping. This is not a favor. This is coercion, or it's outright forgery. Did you sign this? No. Good. Do not sign it. Do not sign anything Graham or Sloane put in front of you ever again. Not a birthday card. Not a permission slip. Nothing. She took a breath. Okay. We are building a firewall, starting right now. First, you are calling all 3 credit bureaus TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. You are freezing your credit, not locking it, freezing it. I want a complete shutdown. Second, you will pull your full 7-year credit report. I want to see every inquiry, every address they might have used. Third, you're going online to the Federal Trade Commission, and you are filing a detailed identity theft report. That report is your shield. It's the official record that this was not you. Do it now. I wrote her instructions down on my grocery list pad. And the house. They can't get the loan if you don't sign. But this desperation, $280,000, they are past desperation. Marian, they are at the bottom of the well. After I hung up, I spent the next 3 hours on the phone and online, following Delia's instructions. It felt familiar. I was just creating a new file, securing a new asset. Then, I started on my own file. I went to my desk and pulled out the empty banker's boxes I'd saved from my retirement. I labelled the first one Guardianship. I went into the children's rooms, into the kitchen drawers. I compiled Ruby's report cards, all A's except for Jim. The stack of notes from Evan's second-grade teacher about his reading progress. The dental records for Noah's last cleaning. The paediatrician's bills I had paid, in full, for the last 3 years. I found the pharmacy receipts for antibiotics and inhalers. I printed out the time-stamped photos from my phone me at the school play. Me making Thanksgiving dinner 6 years in a row. Me picking up 3 sleeping children from their own apartment at midnight after Sloane had to meet an investor. I found my daughter-in-law departure log and placed it on top. My next call was to the clerk at the Northfield County Courthouse. I made an appointment to file for temporary emergency guardianship. Delia called back that afternoon. One more thing, Marion. Do not, under any circumstances, confront them. Do not tell Graham you know. Do not accuse him. Let them think you are just the slow, soft-hearted old woman they've been playing. Let your son reveal his own hand. Just keep documenting. That evening, I did 2 more things. I installed the new video doorbell I'd had in a box for months. I wanted a clear, high-definition record of everyone who came to my door. Then, I went into my storage closet and pulled out the file containing my car co-sign agreement. I scanned the signature page, and I found it. A Marion A. on a credit application from 2 years ago. The handwriting was sloppy, the loop on the A too wide. It was a clumsy, arrogant forgery. Sloane's, no doubt. I scanned it and saved it to a thumb drive. The children were quiet that night, the weight of their father's morning visit still lingering. Ruby came downstairs while I was loading the dishwasher. "Is Dad in trouble?" she asked. I stopped and dried my hands, turning to face her. "That is for him to worry about, not you." I held her shoulder. "I am going to keep everything safe, Ruby. I promise." She hugged me, and I held her for a long time. After she went to bed, I took an old, unsent letter I had written to my son 2 years ago, begging him to see what was happening. I folded it, put it in an envelope, and locked it in the fireproof safe, right next to the departure log. The past few days have been quiet, but it is a loud kind of quiet. The house feels like it is holding its breath. Graham has not called or texted since he left the envelope. He is waiting, expecting me to sign it, panic, and transfer the money. He has always operated on my predictability, but the person who managed those records for 34 years is not the same person who raised 3 children for 6. I find myself thinking of the holidays, 6 years of them. The first time, I convinced myself it was a mistake. Graham called on Thanksgiving morning, his voice strained. "Sloane's got a migraine. Mum, we're just going to stay home. Can you just keep the kids?" I remember looking at the 20-pound turkey I had roasted, the 3-place settings for them, the child-sized chairs I'd borrowed. I said yes. I carved the turkey alone with the children. We ate. I told them their parents loved them, but the pattern cemented. Christmas, 2 years ago. Sloane had just returned from one of her extended breaks. She swept in on December 23rd, wearing a new cream-coloured fur coat I knew Graham could not afford. She dropped 3 small suitcases in my hallway. "Just essentials for the kids," she'd chirped, air-kissing me while smelling of expensive perfume. Tucked inside Ruby's bag, I later found a crumpled, bright pink envelope. It was an invoice from a premium pop-up daycare she had apparently used for a week and never paid. It was over $900. That year. Graham promised it was the last time. This is the final funding round, Mom. I swear. Next year, we'll make it up to you. We'll take you to Aspen. Aspen. I just wanted my son to see his daughter in her school play. The drop and return became a ritual. It happened 6 times, and each time, the cost left behind was higher. Unpaid medical bills, a returned check for summer camp, the co-signed car. They weren't just leaving their children, they were leaving their liabilities. I am sorting through the guardianship file, the box now half full, when I find it. A piece of construction paper, folded in half. It's from Ruby, from last spring. Her handwriting is neat, the loops careful. Dear Grandma, I am tree number 3 in the play. It is not a big part, but I have to stand still. If Mum comes, can you save her a seat next to you, love? Ruby. Sloane did not come. Graham did not come. I sat alone, next to an empty chair, and watched my granddaughter pretend to be a piece of the forest. I take the note. I walk to the fireproof safe in my closet and unlock it. I place Ruby's note inside, right next to their birth certificates and the forged car loan application. This is not sentiment. This is evidence. These are the records of my new infrastructure, and I will not let it fail. Delia's voice on the phone last night was steel. You're sure you want to go through with this? Marion, the guardianship, the FTC report? Once you file this, the war starts. They will paint you as vindictive, as a bitter old woman. She asked me the question I had been asking myself. Do you want revenge, or do you want a resolution? I looked at the kitchen calendar. I looked at the school lunch menu pinned to the corkboard. I want justice, I told her, my voice quiet. And I want peace for these children, whatever it takes to get that. The phone rings. I glance at the caller ID. It is midnight. The number is blocked. I pick it up and press the record button on the small device Delia gave me, a function that is perfectly legal for incoming calls in North Carolina. Hello. Marion. Oh God. It is Sloane. She is not chirping now. She is sobbing, a raw, theatrical sound. You have to help me. You have to sign the papers Graham left. You don't understand. I wait. These people. They aren't like a bank, she whispers, the hysteria sharpening. They said they know where you live. They know about the kids. You have to sign it. Marion. The threat hangs in the air, exactly as she intended. The implication you sign, or you put the children at risk. The same tactic, just a different holiday. Sloane, I say, my voice perfectly level, polite, as if she has called the water authority with a billing query. It is past midnight. I hang up the phone. I turn off the ringer and walk to the kitchen. The house is silent again. I pick up a red marker from the junk drawer and walk to the wall calendar. I find the date for the guardianship hearing, still 3 weeks away, and I draw a firm, steady circle around it. The Northfield County Courthouse is not a grand place. The walls in this preliminary hearing room were painted a shade of beige that promised nothing but bureaucracy. I sat next to Delia. Graham sat 2 rows behind us, alone. Sloane, as I had expected, was not present. The judge, a woman with tired eyes and a sharp haircut, looked over my filing. She looked at Graham. then at me. "Mr. Aldridge," she said, her voice flat. "Your mother has filed for temporary emergency guardianship of your 3 children. She alleges you and your wife have effectively abandoned them. What is your response?" Graham stood up, fumbling with the button on his suit jacket. He was wearing the investor suit, the one I had paid to have dry cleaned. "Your Honor, that is not true. My wife and I, we have a very demanding startup. We just needed my mother to help out. It was all temporary, just babysitting. She's blowing this way out of proportion." The judge's eyes flicked to Delia. "Ms. Romano, your client's petition mentions 6 specific extended holidays. Can you elaborate?" Delia did not stand. She simply opened a 3-ring binder on the table. "Your Honor, my client's evidence can elaborate for her." She pushed the binder forward. "We have submitted a detailed accounting for the past 6 major holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, for 3 years running. It includes itemized expenses paid by my client, logged hours of direct care totaling over 800 hours for those holidays alone, and notarized statements from 3 neighbors who confirm Mr. Aldridge and his wife were not present." The judge opened the binder. She turned the first page. "I saw the exhibit tab, a color photo I took 2 Christmases ago, of Ruby, Evan, and Noah opening presents, alone, by my tree." She turned another page, seeing the receipts from the grocery store, the pharmacy bills. She didn't look through the whole binder. She closed it. "Mr. Aldridge," the judge said, not looking up. "Where is your wife, the children's mother?" She had a last-minute business emergency in Atlanta, Your Honor." "I see." The judge's pen made a scratching sound. "Temporary emergency guardianship is granted to the petitioner, Marion Aldridge. We will schedule a full hearing on this matter in 45 days. That will give you and your absent wife time to find legal counsel and prepare a response." Graham's face went white. I walked out of the courtroom, Delia's hand lightly on my back. We made it to the top of the wide concrete steps outside, the air cool and damp. "Mum." I stopped. Graham was right behind me, his voice a low, furious hiss. His public face was gone. "What did you do?" he whispered, his eyes darting around. "You've ruined everything. You need to sign the papers. Sign them." "Mom, they are going to take the house if you don't." I turned to look at him. My son. His panic was so raw it was suffocating. But it was not panic for his children. It was panic for the money. I said nothing. I just looked at him. Then I turned and walked down the steps, leaving him there. That night, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. It was a photograph, taken from a car, looking straight at my front porch. The porch light I always leave on was illuminated. There was no message, just the picture. A reminder. "We know where you live. We know where the children are." I called Delia and told her. "They're trying to scare you into signing," she said, her voice pure ice. "They've just made their second mistake. The first was underestimating you." She hung up, and I knew she was acting. The next day, she called me. "I've retained a private investigator, someone I've used before. He is very discreet, very good at pulling on loose threads. I want to know who Sloan is really in debt to." It only took him 2 days. "It's not a bank. Marion," Delia told me over the phone. "This $280,000 loan. It's from a private equity fund." Shady, but not technically illegal. Our investigator dug into Opulent Futures LLC. It's a shell company, and its registered address isn't in Asheville or even North Carolina. It's a virtual mailbox in a strip mall in Savannah, Georgia. A virtual address. A shell company. This was more than just Sloane's bad spending. This was a structure. This was fraud. I hung up the phone and looked out the window at my front porch. The light was on. I went to my computer, opened a new browser tab, and began to research the best smart locks on the market, the ones with full video logs and remote access. I would not be intimidated. I would just upgrade my security. The new smart lock chirped at 9 p.m., logging an entry. Then, a hesitant knock. Soft. Not the demanding ring of my son. I looked at the video feed on my phone. It was Sloane. She was standing on my porch, but she was not the Sloane I knew. The fur coat was gone, replaced by a thin, stained hoodie. Her expensive hair was dark at the roots and pulled back, and she was visibly, heavily pregnant. I did not want to open the door. But Ruby was just down the hall, doing her homework. I could not have a confrontation on the porch, recorded or not. I unlocked the deadbolt. She slipped inside, her eyes wide, flinching at the sound of the lock clicking shut behind her. "Marian, please, just 1 minute," she said, her voice a dry rasp. "You have 1 minute," I said. I did not move from the entryway. "I know what Graham did," she whispered, her hands twisting over her stomach. "He's an idiot. He shouldn't have just dropped it on you. But the money... Marian, it's not what you think." She started to cry, but these were not the theatrical sobs from the phone. These were the small, panicked tears of an animal caught in a trap. The investment, it wasn't a tech startup, she said. It was jewelry, high-end rentals. I was cross-collateralizing, renting a piece, re-renting it, taking a cut. She was talking fast, but a piece went missing, and the whole chain it broke. And the money, the $280,000. That's what I owe them. That's the insurance. She was a con artist, not a very good one. "And now this," she said, placing a hand on her belly. I'm due in 2 weeks. I have no insurance. He's no help. I just need you to co-sign the medical guarantee. Just for the birth. I'll pay you back. Marian, I swear. Just for the baby." Her voice had gotten louder. In the hallway, I saw a shadow. Ruby. She was standing by her bedroom door, pale. Her eyes locked on Sloane. Sloane saw her. "Ruby, baby, come see Mama." Ruby flinched and took a step back. "That's enough," I said, my voice cutting through the air. I walked to Ruby, put my arm around her, and guided her back into her room. I did not raise my voice. I spoke to her calmly, but my body was rigid. "Your mother is here on business. Ruby, she is leaving. Go finish your math. I am handling this." I closed her door, turned, and faced Sloane. The feeling of abandonment from my granddaughter was so thick in the air it was hard to breathe. "You will not use them," I said. Sloane's face hardened. The tears were gone. "He's your son, too. He's in this. Your minute is up." I opened the front door. "Leave." She stared at me, a look of pure, venomous hatred. She walked out. I locked the door, leaning against it for a moment. My phone buzzed in my hand. It was a text from Delia. I had told her about Sloane's late-night call. Her text was simple. Whatever she says tonight, whatever she promises, you do not sign a single thing. I mean it. Marion, I typed. I didn't. Another buzz. A new message. This one was from the investigator. It wasn't a text. It was an image. A time-stamped security photo from a pawn shop in Knoxville, Tennessee, dated 6 months ago. It was Sloane, at the counter. And in her hand, being passed to the broker, was my grandmother's ring. The sapphire and diamond cluster I had let Sloane borrow for an event 3 years ago. The one she swore she had misplaced in the move. I looked at the photo. My grandmother's ring. Sold. I did not hesitate. I went to the safe, took out the folder with my old household inventory. 30 years ago, my husband had insisted we insure it. I found the original bill of sale, the one from 1952, complete with the jeweler's mark and the serial number engraved inside the band. I put the children to bed. I told Ruby I had to run an errand for the house. At 10:30 p.m., I got in my car and drove east on I-40 toward Knoxville. I arrived at 2 a.m. I waited in the parking lot. At 9 a.m., when the pawn shop opened, I was the first one in. I showed the manager the police report I had filed online from the car for stolen property. I showed him the original, 30-year-old insurance appraisal with the serial number. By 9:30 a.m., I had the ring. I drove back to Asheville. I walked into my house. The children were at school. I took a small manila envelope, the kind I used for receipts. I wrote on the front, "If I disappear." I dropped the ring inside and sealed it. I locked it in the safe. My phone buzzed. A new text from Sloane. "If you don't help, they will come to your door. This is your last chance." Sloane's last text was not a plea. It was a deadline. They will come to your door. I had documented their negligence. Now I had to document my own protection. I initiated the plan I had formed with Delia 2 weeks ago. We called it the Laurel Plan, after the tough, resilient bushes that grow all over these mountains. My first move was purely legal. I signed an emergency medical power of attorney, naming Delia as the temporary decision-maker for the children. This ensured that if Graham or Sloane tried to check them out of school or a hospital, she would be the legal firewall. My second move was financial. I am retired, not wealthy, but I am stable. I met with a trust attorney Delia recommended. We transferred the bulk of my liquid assets, my pension savings, my IRA, into a new revocable trust. The sole beneficiaries of this trust were Ruby, Evan, and Noah. The house would be next. This action created a legal wall. My money was no longer my money. It was theirs. It could not be signed away on a business guarantee. The logistics of disappearing while staying in place were more complex. I opened a new post office box at the downtown branch, not my local one. I opened a new debit account at a credit union I had never used, funded with a small, precise amount, to be used only for the children's immediate needs. It would create a clean, traceable record of responsible spending. I contacted the Elm Street Family Center, a local outreach program I had donated to for years. I spoke to the director, explaining I was in a volatile family law situation and needed a third party to verify the children's school drop-off and pick-up. They agreed to have a volunteer sign them in and out, adding another layer of professional witness to my care. I rerouted my phone. All calls from numbers not in my contact list were forwarded directly to a new, legal voicemail box set up by Delia's firm. I would no longer receive threats at midnight. to create a clean break. I scheduled a comprehensive physical at my doctor's office for the day I planned to leave. It was a simple, boring alibi. No one questions a medical appointment. The night before, I sat with Ruby. I had a small, decorated box in my lap. "I want you to hold on to these for me," I said. I opened it. Inside were 6 years of handmade cards, the Thanksgiving turkeys made from her handprint, the lopsided Christmas trees Evan had drawn, the Valentines. "This," I said, my voice steady, "is the proof that we were here, that we were a family, right here." She took the box, her expression serious. That morning, I wrote 2 letters. The first one was short. I placed it on the kitchen counter, right where Graham had dropped his envelope. I wrote in my clearest, firmest hand on a plain white sheet of paper, "I am not signing anything else." The second letter was for Delia. It contained my new address, the trust documents, and the key to the P.O. box. I packed 1 suitcase for myself and 3 for the children. At 8:15 a.m., I drove them to the Elm Street Center and met the volunteer. Then, I drove west on the interstate, a visible, obvious direction. I drove for 20 miles. At the next exit, I looped back around and drove east, past Asheville, to a small, furnished rental on the other side of the town, on the edge of the county. It was rented not in my name, but under the name of a property management company, paid for 3 months in advance from the new account. I did not disconnect the cameras at my old house. I watched the feed on my laptop as I unpacked the children's toothbrushes. Delia was monitoring the legal filings from her office. I had vanished. But I had not run. I had simply, as a good records manager would, moved the entire operation to a more secure facility. It took Graham less than 48 hours to execute his next strategy-manufactured panic. My doctor's appointment had extended overnight, and I was not answering his calls. He went to social media. I saw the post, shared by a former neighbor. It was a grainy photo of me from 5 years ago, smiling at a potluck. "My mother, Marian Aldridge, is missing," he wrote. "She left her phone and might be confused. She needs her medication. If anyone sees her, please contact me immediately. We are worried sick." He was laying the foundation. Confused. Needs medication. He was not just looking for me. He was building a case to have me declared incompetent. A woman who could not manage her own affairs, whose signature could perhaps be bypassed. But I was not confused. I was in a clean, quiet rental across town, watching the high-definition feed from my old front door on my laptop. Just as Sloane had threatened, they came. 2 men in expensive, ill-fitting suits. They did not look like thugs. They looked like aggressive accountants. They rang the new smart doorbell, and I watched their faces fill the screen. They rang it 3 times. Then, one of them found the envelope I had taped to the inside of the storm door's glass. I watched him pull it free and read my clear, block-lettered note, "I am not signing anything else." He looked up, directly into the camera lens, and scowled. He said something to his associate. 10 minutes later, a local patrol car cruised slowly down the street, just as I had requested. I had called the non-emergency line and filed a report of potential harassment at my address, citing the aggressive loan tactics. The officers parked and spoke to the 2 men. The men showed them papers. The officers shrugged. It was a civil matter, not a crime. The men got back in their car and left, empty-handed. Delia, in the meantime, was building the legal fortress. She filed for an emergency temporary restraining order, not against Graham or Sloane, but against access to the children. It barred anyone not on the court-approved list, which now consisted of me, Delia, and the director of the Elm Street Family Centre from picking them up at school or daycare. The children were now legally invisible to their parents from the rental. I worked. I was not just hiding, I was compiling. I called the pediatrician's office and requested a full, certified history of the children's medical care for the last 6 years, including the payment receipts that all traced back to my checking account. I emailed Ruby's principal, requesting a signed affidavit confirming I was the sole emergency contact and academic monitor for 3 years. The documents began to arrive, one by one, at my new post office box. The investigator Delia hired found the root. The shady equity fund was not a faceless corporation. The person Sloane truly owed was her own aunt, a wealthy, manipulative woman in Savannah who ran a private, high-interest loan business exclusively for family members. She didn't break legs. She leveraged guilt and public shame. This was why Sloane was so terrified. It was not business. It was blood. The credit freeze I had initiated paid its first dividend. I received an automated alert to my new email. An inquiry had been made and blocked. Someone, using the virtual address in Savannah, had attempted to open a new line of credit in my name. Sloane was still trying to dig her way out using my identity. The attempt failed. Graham, seeing his public panic and the private threats stalling, switched tactics. An email appeared. The subject line, "Mum, please come home." "Mum," it read, "this has all gone too far. This is a huge misunderstanding. I can fix this, but you have to be here. Sloane is falling apart. She's pregnant. She's not well. You're scaring the kids. Stop this. We are your family. Just come home." I did not reply. I forwarded the email to Delia, then saved a PDF copy to the secure thumb drive labeled Evidence. On Friday, I broke my own rule. Ruby was scheduled to give a speech at her school's public speaking competition. I could not stay away. I wore a rain hat and a pair of old sunglasses, standing in the deepest shadows at the back of the auditorium, smelling the floor wax and cheap coffee. The theme was Silent Heroes. Ruby walked to the podium, her small hands clutching her note cards. "A hero isn't always strong or loud," she began, her voice trembling just once. "Sometimes a hero is just quiet." She never used my name. "My hero makes sure the lights are on. My hero makes soup when I am sick and listens to my day, even the boring parts. A hero is the one who stays when everyone else leaves." She looked up, her eyes scanning the crowd. "My hero is the one who showed me how to be brave, just by being there." I pressed my knuckles against my mouth to stifle the sound. I felt the tears, hot and sudden. I was a record keeper, but I was her grandmother first. I slipped out the side door before the applause faded. That night, a new text arrived on my phone. A different, unknown number. "You're making this hard. You can't protect the house and the kids. Trade the house for peace. Sign the deed over. And all this goes away. The debt is cleared. You can keep the kids. Just give up the house." The mask was off. It was never about the loan. It was always about the house. The trade the house for peace text was the final piece of data I needed. It was no longer coercion. It was a clear, written demand. I forwarded it to Delia. Her response was immediate. "That's it," she said. We're done defending. We are filing the countersuit. She spent the next day drafting a civil complaint that was a work of art. It wasn't just a response to the debt, it was an offensive. It alleged conspiracy to commit civil fraud, financial elder abuse, and forgery, based on the signature from the car loan. We weren't just protecting the house, we were coming for their entire scheme. But Delia was not ready to file it. A document like this is a bomb, she explained. It's more powerful if they don't see it coming. We need one more thing. We need to get Graham on record, in a neutral space, connecting himself to the threat. We need to set the bait. I was the bait. From my new email, I sent a message to Graham. The tone was one I had used often in the past, weary, reluctant, and defeated. Graham, I wrote, this is too much. I cannot live like this. The threats, the hiding. You win. I will sign what you need, but I will not do it at the house. I will meet you at the Northfield County Notary Office tomorrow at 3 p.m. I will hand over the responsibility as you asked. Please, just make this stop. I hit send. He replied in less than 2 minutes. 3 p.m.? Be there and be alone? The notary office was a small, drab room with fluorescent lights and a glass partition. Delia and a certified stenographer were in the adjacent room, a small office Delia had rented for the hour, with a clear view through the glass. The camera on the notary's desk, perfectly legal and disclosed by a small sign, was running. Graham arrived at 3:05 p.m., impatient. He was holding a new, thinner envelope. Okay, Mom, let's do this, he said, not even sitting down. He pulled out the papers. It was not the second mortgage document. It was a quitclaim deed. He was trying to get me to sign my entire house over to him directly. It's a release, he said, pushing it toward me. You sign this. The debt is cleared. That's the deal. They get the asset, and the $280,000 problem vanishes. It's clean. Who gets the asset? Graham, I asked, my hand hovering over the pen. It doesn't matter. Just sign it. He tapped the paper, his finger jabbing. Sign it so I can get this to them. The door to the office opened. Delia walked in, followed by the stenographer. Graham's head snapped up. What is this? He demanded. This is a legally recorded meeting. Graham, Delia said calmly. The camera is on, and our stenographer is taking a full transcript. You have just been recorded attempting to coerce your mother, a protected elder, into signing away her primary residence under duress to cover a fraudulent debt. Graham's face crumpled. He looked from Delia to me, his eyes wide with the realization of the trap. He backed against the wall. You don't understand, he shouted, his voice cracking. They gave me 72 hours. They told me to get the asset or it's over. 72 hours. There it is, I thought. The connection. The deadline. My phone, sitting on the table, vibrated. I glanced at the screen. It was a text from a hospital number. Sloan. I'm in labor. It's premature. The hospital says I have no coverage, and they need a $40,000 guarantee before I can be admitted for delivery. They won't do it. Please. Marion. They are turning me away. The baby. A final, desperate squeeze. Use the unborn child as a human shield. Graham was still babbling about his deadline. I held up a hand to stop him. I looked at Delia. She nodded. I already knew what to do. I did not text Sloan back. I called the hospital's billing department directly. I spoke to the administrator, my voice calm, professional. "My name is Marian Aldridge," I said. "I am handling the account for Sloane Aldridge. I am wiring the $40,000 for her cost of birth package. It is coming from an anonymous charitable donation." "Oh, thank God," the administrator said. "We can admit her." "On one condition," I added, my voice turning to ice. "This payment is conditional on your compliance with a standing court order. I am sending it over now. It is a temporary guardianship order for all her dependents. This newborn, upon birth, falls under that protection. You will list the child's guardian as Marian Aldridge per court order, and no one else is authorized to make decisions or have the child released to them. Do you understand?" There was a pause. "Yes, ma'am. With a prepayment and a court order, we can absolutely comply." I hung up. Sloane would get her medical care, but she would not get her leverage. She had just lost her last bargaining chip. Delia's phone buzzed. She looked at it. It was the investigator. "The aunt in Savannah just emptied her local office," Delia whispered to me, a small smile on her face. "She's running." The moment she heard we were escalating to civil fraud, she cut them loose. The 72-hour clock that Graham was so terrified of was still ticking. But the people he owed had just vanished. He was left holding nothing but a quitclaim deed, a stenographer's transcript, and the consequences of his own choices. The 72-hour deadline was ticking down. Graham's panic, now that his aunt had abandoned him, was palpable. He called. He texted. He begged. I let every call go to the legal voicemail. Then, I sent the final email. "Graham, I am done hiding." I wrote, "I cannot let your father's house be taken by these people. I will sign the papers. Let's do this properly. At a bank. Meet me at the Foothill Bank main branch conference room. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. We will finish this." He agreed immediately. He thought he had finally broken me. The conference room at Foothill Bank was large, panelled in dark wood, designed to intimidate. Graham was already there when I arrived, pacing. He looked relieved. He stopped when I walked in. Not alone. Delia was with me, and at the far end of the long table sat two other people, a quiet man in a suit, and a woman with a stenography machine. "What is this?" Graham said, his eyes narrowing. I said, "Come alone." "This is not a closing, Graham. This is a civil deposition," Delia said, placing her briefcase on the table. "Everything said in this room is on the record." Graham looked trapped. He stared at the court representative. "I believe it's time for Exhibit B," Delia said. I opened my own briefcase. I took out the thick manila envelope, the one I had locked in the safe at my real house. The one labelled, "If I disappear." I did not open it. I slid it down the polished table to the court representative. "These," I said, my voice echoing slightly in the large room, "are the records for the last 6 years." The representative opened it. He began, one by one, to remove the contents: the pharmacy receipts, the grocery bills for 6 Thanksgivings and 6 Christmases, the cancelled checks for 3 different summer camps, the enrollment forms for 2 different schools, the photographs of birthdays, of school plays, of holidays spent only with me. "We have conducted a full audit," Delia said, her voice sharp and clear. "We have documented every hour of care, every dollar spent, every parental obligation abdicated by your wife and ignored by you." She gestured to the representative. who turned a page. The total, including medical costs, food, clothing, and educational fees, comes to $143,600. Graham scoffed. That's ridiculous. That's what a family does. She's a grandmother. Is this what a family does? I asked. I pulled one item from the stack, Ruby's note. I held it up. My granddaughter, asking me to save a seat for her mother, who she knew would not come. My voice did not shake. I am not submitting this as emotional leverage. I am submitting this as a factual record of absence. A pattern. 6 years of patterns. Graham's face flushed. He pointed at me, then at Delia. This is her fault, Sloane. She's the one who spent the money. She's the one who took the loans. She sold the ring. I was just trying to manage it. I was trying to fix her mess. By coercing your mother to sign over her house? Delia asked. Thank you for that clarification. Graham, the stenographer has your admission. The court representative finally spoke, his voice quiet but firm. Mr. Aldridge, given the evidence presented, which strongly supports claims of financial elder abuse and conspiracy to commit fraud, the court is prepared to move forward. However, your mother has requested we offer one final, non-negotiable settlement. He slid a single document toward Graham. You will sign away any and all future claims to your mother's residence. You will agree to a 10-year repayment plan for the $143,000. If you default on a single payment, the full ownership of the house transfers immediately to the irrevocable trust established for your children. Sign this, and the civil suit is stayed. Do not sign, and we file today. Graham stared at the paper as if it were a snake. His hand was shaking. This was not the victory he was promised. He fumbled for his phone. I need to make a call. He walked to the corner of the room, his back to us, but we could hear his panicked whisper. She's got a lawyer. They have, I don't know, records. They want me to pay it all back. He listened, wincing. But how the aunt is gone, I can't. He listened again, his whole body tensing. He turned around, his face pale, the phone still to his ear. They said it doesn't matter, he said, looking at me. They said, to get the signature. Just get your signature, no matter what. I smiled. It was not a kind smile. I'm not signing it. Graham? He looked confused. What? I'm not signing the settlement, I repeated. I reached into my briefcase one last time and pulled out another document, this one already bearing an official stamp. I'm not signing it, because the judge already signed the enforcement order this morning, contingent on your refusal. I slid it across the table. This meeting was a courtesy. Graham, Delia said, standing up, to give you one last chance to choose your children over the debt. You chose the debt. The main conference room door opened. 2 uniformed sheriff's deputies stepped inside. They were not here to arrest him. They were here to serve. One of them stepped toward my son. Graham Aldridge. You are hereby served with a civil summons and a temporary restraining order. You are to have no contact with Marian Aldridge or the minor children until the full hearing. The countdown had ended. The mechanism was in motion. The Green School Initiative ceremony was the perfect location. The entire town was gathered in the newly renovated public square, enjoying the mild spring afternoon. I had been in the rental for 3 weeks, organizing this. The mayor was at the podium, wrapping up his speech. And finally, he said, smiling at the crowd, we want to give a special thanks to the anonymous patron who funded the final phase of the Children's Library Wing. She has graciously agreed to accept our thanks publicly. Please welcome Marian Aldridge. I walked out from the side of the stage. The applause was polite, but it quickly dissolved into confused whispers. I heard my name rippling through the crowd. That's her. Graham said she was missing. I thought she was sick. I reached the podium, and that's when they moved. Mum. Graham's voice, sharp and desperate, cut through the air. He pushed through the front row, dragging Sloane behind him. She was holding her new baby in a carrier, wearing it like a shield. How could you do this? He shouted, accusingly, playing to the crowd. You vanished, you took the children, you stole our money, and you disappeared. We've been worried sick. The crowd gasped. The mayor looked horrified. I did not respond to Graham. I turned to Delia, who was standing nearby. She handed me the sealed document box, stamped by the county clerk. I placed it on the podium and leaned into the microphone. Hello, everyone, I said. My voice was calm, amplified, and clear. My son is right about one thing. I did vanish, but I wasn't running. I was organizing. I broke the seal on the box. Graham wanted a public discussion about our family finances. I agree. I pulled out the first document. This is the certified court order granting me full temporary guardianship of Ruby, Evan, and Noah, based on 6 years of documented abandonment. I pulled out the second. This is the forensic investigator's report, detailing the forgery of my signature on a car loan and the attempt to secure a $280,000 loan against my home. I pulled out the third. This is the paid-in-full receipt for $40,000 for Sloane's hospital delivery, paid from an anonymous trust to ensure the safety of my new grandchild. Sloane's face went white. You wanted to know where I was? Graham. I nodded to the AV technician at the back of the square. The large LED screen above the stage, which had been showing images of trees, flickered. A simple timeline appeared. Thanksgiving. Year 1. Parents absent networking. Cost to grandmother $200. The slide changed. Christmas. Year 2. Parents absent. Detox. Cost to grandmother $900. It continued. 6 holidays. 6 abandonments. 6 instances of escalating financial demands. The square was completely silent. I held up the last item, Ruby's handwritten note. And this, I said, my voice thick for just a moment, is a letter from my granddaughter, who gave me permission to read it. Dear Grandma, if Mom comes, can you save her a seat next to you? A man in a suit, the court representative Delia had invited, stepped forward. He did not address the crowd. He spoke directly to Graham, his voice low but official. Mr. Aldridge, as you are present, I am serving you this immediate order. All attempts to manipulate the asset, the house on Pine Hollow, are frozen. Full administrative rights are being transferred to the Children's Trust, effective immediately. You can't! Sloane shrieked, finding her voice. It was the loan. It was my aunt. She forced us. Ms. Aldridge, the investigator said, stepping forward from the side of the stage. He read from his notes. Your aunt, who ran an illegal, high-interest internal family loan operation from Savannah, has already liquidated her assets and disappeared, abandoning you to your creditors. Sloane stared at him, speechless. Graham looked around, trapped. His audience turned against him. He tried his last card. "Mom, please," he whimpered. "I'm your son. This is family." I looked at him, my son, and I felt nothing but the cold, hard clarity of the truth. "I'm not signing anymore. Graham," I said into the microphone. "I'm not running anymore. I did vanish. I vanished from the only role you ever respected, the role of your wallet." Delia stepped up, placing one final single-page document on the podium. "This is the final settlement agreement," she announced. "Sign it, Graham. Accept the 10-year repayment plan for the $143,000, and the civil prosecution is stayed. Refuse, and this entire file, including the forgery report, goes directly to the district attorney, and the house transfer is finalized today. Your choice." She placed a pen on top of the paper. The square held its breath. Graham looked at the document. He looked at the unblinking crowd. He looked at Sloane, who, seeing the game was over, took one small, deliberate step back, separating herself from him. His hand, trembling, reached for the pen. He picked it up. He looked at the signature line. His hand moved down. The pen touched the paper. "Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'm curious. Where are you all listening from? Let me know in the comments below. Share your thoughts, and please subscribe to Grandma's Family Diary. Go ahead and like this video, and give us extra support by hitting that hype button so more people can hear this story."